Hey yo, wagwan my brothers. Welcome back. And you already know what you're here for, so let's get straight into it. The dungeon overview on the right hand side is the Zetant Rettel boss. Then on the top is the Lost Number. There is a random battle up in the northeast and the Iron Giant on the bottom. There's another pretty dangerous random battle over here, and then my most hated battle of the dungeon, the Raymay on the left side. Don't forget the Cactars in the well. And the final boss is Masamune, the swordsmith. So obviously there's a bunch of different ways you can go about this. In general, I recommend either bringing a water-based team or a strong non-elemental team, preferably with some AoE. So for like a magic water team, you could bring something like Tifa with bunny gloves and Bahamut fangs, for example, and Ketchi for water resist down, and Aerith for boost magic attack all allies. Glenn with his stream slasher, if you have it, is really good for a physical team, and Sephiroth can bring water resist down. Aerith can bring defenses, heals, and physical attack up for your whole team. Other options is something like Angeal for DPS / tank even, with Provoke, Zac for physical defense down and water resist down, and Aerith for the same reasons. General, non-elemental, there's so many different characters and weapons you can bring, but Cloud with Bahamut Greatsword is really good, and Vincent is really good because of his strong limit breaks that can be made even stronger with trance abilities. And speaking of trance abilities, as always, I have the bosses and their details here, as well as their trance abilities, so you can kind of check this out in your own time and plan your run using the information provided. And as always, the item usage scores. It's been a while since we've had a dungeon ranking, so I'm not sure if this has changed, but there it is. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because it's my thoughts on specific trance abilities, not covering all of them, but just the ones that stuck out to me. Plus, thoughts on how my run is far from perfect and how I could make it better. So, yeah. First things first is on the Iron Giant. I went with the status resistances because I just didn't want to have to deal with the blind and fatigue that comes from the Raymay fight. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is a good choice. You could kind of deal with the status resistance kind of easily if you have Aerith, especially with the Bahamut Rod. It has the Esuna All, which is really good. You could slap a Darkness Esuna on there to deal with the blind, and then either try to kill the frog before he does fatigue, or just bring a separate fatigue. That should be pretty chilled as well. So going for the status resist can be useful if you don't want to have to deal with all of that, but I think, the Raymay fights are so difficult that maybe going for more defenses and water potency, or even the physical attack option might be probably a better option. The other thoughts that I had was on the Lost Numbers trance abilities. So the physical / magical command ability ATB -1, in my opinion, is massive. It is so good, it's almost impossible to pass up on. Makes all of your really strong attacks, like your main water DPS or Cloud's Fierce Claw, if you have the Bahamut Greatsword, costs 3 ATB instead of 4, which is a really big deal. But it is still a bit of a tough choice because I think like the multi-target ability potency can be really, really good and really useful in the Raymay fight, which in my opinion is the hardest fight in the whole dungeon. But yeah, I went with the ATB cost down because I feel like that's just too good to pass up on. The last things is the physical attack, magic attack, and limit break potency from the Raymay themselves. I went with the normal charging limit breaks, like Cloud's Cross Slash, for example, and with this I probably should have gone with the quicker casting ones to get more value. I was just scared that I was gonna negatively impact my score because of casting multiple limit breaks takes more time of the fight, kind of like with the guild battles, but that could be something I could try differently. And then finally, single target ability potency plus 60% could be really good. I haven't really tested it out. I don't know if it's worth losing a bunch of summon potency, but maybe if you have a pretty low level Leviathan, you could try that. I'm going to go over my strategy basically, and like I said, my run is far from optimal. It's not the perfect run. but I did complete the dungeon, I did get an S+, and I did get, for now, top 100. Obviously that'll probably change, but yeah, and there are a lot of improvements that I can make, and I definitely want to try do different runs, better runs, and if I do, I'm going to upload a follow-up video, not with all of this breakdown and stuff, just pretty much the run, where I do maybe differently and or better. But anyways, for this run, I went with Aaaaand Redel first. I got the defensive trance abilities. I went with him first just so that I could rush the lost number second and get that juicy ATB -1. After that, I collected the items and did the random battle in the northeast. Then I went on to the Iron Giant, which is by far the easiest fight in the whole dungeon. I did a couple of random battles and items, or one random battle, and got the items there. And finally went on to the Raymay, which was a real pain in the ass. It was the hardest fight for me by far. And when I finally defeated them, I went on to the final boss, which was a lot easier in my opinion. And that was Swordsmith Masamune. So you can see my order and the trance abilities that I took. Pretty much jumping into my team next. I went with Art, a dedicated healer. So I went with basically bunch of DPS and just slapped some single target cure materia on them. For water, my main DPS is Aaaaand. I went with this just for the boost physical attack so I could max his out. I went for his water outfit, water weapon, and Leviathan. Materia, I just went with Darkness Essener because Lost Number also casts Dark. Yeah, and the rest is just Cure and Stat Stick / Ruin. For his sub-equipment, I focused on physical attack and water potency, so you can check out his stats. And you can check out his R abilities. Boost physical attack 7 and water potency 8 is the main stuff, and then a little bit of other stuff. And for my all allies buffs, I have level 5 boost physical attack from Aaaaand, level 5 boost physical attack from Cloud, and then 2 defense and 2 attack from Aaaaand and Cloud as well from their outfits. Also went for a secondary DPS in Cloud, this time non-elemental DPS, so Bahamut Greatsword and Glavenus for physical defense down for the Iron Giant, and physical attack for him. Nothing special about the materia. I went with Cross Slash, which, as I said, I don't know if that was a mistake. I'm going to try with Clim Hazard and see how that goes. Sub-equipment, basically just physical attack, physical ability potency. So yeah, physical attack 7, physical ability potency 7, and a couple of other stuff at level 3. And then finally, my support is Sephiroth. Sadly, I don't actually even have a physical costume for him, so I just went with the cool looking costume, the HP and magic ability. Again, I went with Astral Gate, where I probably should have went with the level 5 limit break. Tempest, of course, for water resist down, which is useful for Lost Number and the final boss. And Glaireed, because it's just the best offhand physical that I have. I also went with water potency for him, so you can check out his stats. And his R abilities, which is mainly just HP, physical attack, and water potency. He does have some other stuff, but yeah. That's pretty much my team, so let's get into the actual run itself. So yeah, I went for the Aaaaand Redel first. My normal strategy for this guy is to try and force him into cooldown early by not doing too much damage. But for some reason I couldn't get that to work for him, so I just ended up going with trying to burst him, lowering his water resist and doing as much damage as possible. He does cast Prismatic Ray pretty quickly, and then he casts a second one pretty fast after he casts the first one. So my strategy was to just burst him. I didn't manage to kill him before the first Prismatic Ray, but I managed to finish him before he got his second one off, so that's pretty sweet. Also, side note, the ultimate abilities from the ultimate weapons that you get. It's not like one cast or two casts depending on the ultimate weapon per fight. It's one cast or two casts for the whole dungeon. So you kind of want to try and use those wisely. I didn't even take my own advice, as you will see a little bit later, but try to keep that in mind to do a better run than I did. So for this guy, just grab the defensive trances, plus you get summon potency, so that's nice. And then like I said, I rushed last number. Pretty much the same strategy for me here. I try to burst him before he gets too many big attacks off. He does cast blind, so I was ready for that and healed it as soon as possible. And then yeah, pretty much just went for bursting him. In one of my previous run attempts, I managed to kill him before he got his big Malice of the Lost off, but I wasn't able to do it this time around, so I'll have to workshop that. Trying to burst him and then defending his attack, just tanking it with Aaaaand and then finishing him. Not too bad, pretty relaxed. He does do bar water, as you can see at the end there, so if you are taking a little longer to kill him, you will probably need water resist down. I got 124k for that one. And then from here, I grab a couple of the items and do of course, I grab the C ability minus ATB, so that's really good. All my 4-cost ATB attacks are now 3-cost, which is a big deal. Then I grab a bunch of the items and do the random battle up here. These guys are not too dangerous. The idea is basically to try and kill them before, at least one of them, before they get their lightning discharge off, because that's pretty strong. I hope you guys have been doing fantastically, and I'm glad to more or less be back. I should be doing videos a little more consistently now. So next up, I took on the Iron Giant, which, like I mentioned, you kind of want to leave him for like, last or second last, because even at higher crisis levels, he's really easy. You basically just want to hold your ATB for physical defense down, and then when he gives himself physical defense up, just spam that ability to remove it. He'll get stunned, and you can just kick his ass. I got 136k for that one. That was super relaxed. The calm before the storm, as it were, because as you'll see, the Raymay fight does not go my way. Here's where I grab the resistances, but like I said, I think that's really where I can make a difference in another run, is by just not going for that and just dealing with the status effects. Now these guys are also actually really dangerous, so you actually want to be really careful here. If you're not, your run might just be ruined by these guys. Their Fierce Claws or Death Claws, whatever, Fierce Claw hits really hard, and their lasers are like basically as strong as the Prismatic Ray from the first boss, and there's 3 of them, so yeah, you want to be careful. If you want to be super safe, I think if you have Leviathan ready, just pop that to wipe them out, and then just pop some summon charges for the next fight. Okay, PTSD kicking in. This was by far the hardest fight in the whole dungeon for me. I really struggled, and I used a lot of items, I still struggled. So I healed up Aaaaand and Sephiroth. I put magic or wisdom, magic defense jellies on everyone, which shouldn't really be necessary if you can get the bird mechanics right. And I even put a guard jelly on Aaaaand because he has provoke. I used water potency up, the cocktails. I went, all out and still struggled. So for this fight, there is a lot going on, and that's why I'm playing it in like normal speed. so I can kind of try go over everything. I'm honestly not sure what the best strategy for this fight is, since I sucked in this fight. But yeah, the middle guy uses blind quite early. The bird does a ton of damage, so I think you need to kind of try kill the bird first. But also try not to do too much damage to him too quickly, because then it looks like he doesn't get his stream phase. Defend the triple kick because it does tons of physical lightning damage. And yeah, like I said, try not to do tons of damage to the bird because you want him to get his stream phase to give you a little bit of extra time to kill them off. But I bursted it a little too quickly, and it didn't get its stream phase. So if you do get the stream phase, it's triangle ruin, triangle sigil that you need to break, and that'll give you a little bit more time to do damage during the interrupt phase. But yeah, I did too much damage, and then he started casting his double Thundaga, and what makes it even worse is I couldn't burst him, so I got absolutely blasted by this attack. So in general, you want to try and get the stream phase for the bird, I think, and then break that to use the interrupt phase. The frog can inflict fatigue as well, and his main attack lowers your physical attack by a ton, so that's also really annoying. And the middle guy does a lot of physical damage and also uses blind. So yeah, tons happening in this fight, and I didn't handle it very well. So let me know in the comments how you did, if you have any strategies for me that I can implement for future runs. Another thing is you can see I'm taking this Rainmaker down really slowly. That's because I believe the frog and the bird are weak to physical, whereas this guy is weak to magical. So there is an argument to actually bring a mixed team, you know, one physical DPS, one magical DPS, or maybe just a straight up magic team is better. But yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. So this fight really cost me, and is the main reason why I want to try, you know, alternative runs, see if I can maybe do better. And like I mentioned, if I do better, I'll just upload the video as a follow-up. So I won't have a complete, you know, overview and all of that. I'll just basically post up the run. Only got 78k, so yeah, I'm not happy about that one. Yeah, the limit break potency isn't even that useful, you know, with only one boss to go, but I think it could be useful if maybe you actually fight this guy earlier. That way they won't be as strong as well, and you can make use of the limit break potency. If you're running like a Vincent team, for example, you probably want to do those guys as soon as possible, but yeah, I really wanted the ATB cost decrease. So of course, don't forget the cacti in the well, because you get 500 blue crystals and you get dungeon items. And then it's on to the final boss, which is, at least for me, a lot easier than the Raymay fight. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to just pop a Mega Elixir. And then a Guard Jelly for Angel, since he has Provoke, and Water Cocktails for my Water DPS. And this one was a lot easier, like I mentioned, a lot more straightforward. Basically, my general strategy was just to get my sort of setup, which involves getting Cloud's physical attack buff from the Glavenus Sword ability, plus Sephiroth's buffs from using Flash of Steel. That gives him the very high potency buffs. And then just focusing on reducing his water resistance until it's down by 3 stages. dropping all my limit breaks and summons, and it's a pretty easy clap. So there's water resistances down by 3 stages, and it's an easy finish, yeah. And there you have it. Far from the perfect run, but I got an S+. I got about 3.1 million, which was enough to put me in the top 100 for now. Likely won't stay that way when more players, take on the event. But yeah, that's enough for now to cover the whole dungeon, and I will definitely post follow-ups. For now, I'm rank 73, but yeah. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I should see you pretty soon in the next one. Bye-bye.